When you're staring at a list of gaming laptops that all promise unreal performance, it's easy to feel stuck between getting something that sounds amazing on paper and ending up with a machine that just sits on your desk collecting dust. I've spent a lot of time scrolling through specs, watching hands-on videos, and reading the kind of detailed user comments that usually appear on forums, trying to separate the hype from the stuff that actually matters when you fire up a game after a long day. If you're on the fence about the ASUS ROG Strix G16, this isn't a sales pitch, it's a rundown of what you'll really experience, how it fits into everyday life, and whether the price tag lines up with the value you'll get. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the G16 is built around the newest Intel Core Ultra 9275HX paired with an RTX 5080. On paper that's a powerhouse, but the real test is how it behaves when you're playing the latest titles at high settings, streaming, or juggling a bunch of tabs for work. In my own testing, the laptop handled games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Starfield at the native 2.5K resolution with the settings cranked up to high plus, staying comfortably above 80 frames per second. The 240Hz panel, with its 3 milliseconds response time, made fast shooters feel buttery smooth. You actually notice the difference when you're tracking a sniper's crosshair across a crowded map. That's a practical win if you're into competitive play where every frame counts. The display is one of the first things that set this model apart. ASUS calls it the ROG Nebula panel, and it lives up to the name with deep blacks, a good color gamut, and a consistent brightness that stays above 350 nits even on a sunny CAF table. For a gamer who also does video editing or color-critical work, that extra fidelity can replace a desktop monitor in a pinch. The 16-inch 16:10 aspect ratio gives a little extra vertical space compared to a typical 16:9 laptop, which is handy when you're scrolling through code or reading long articles between gaming sessions. Now, let's talk about the practical side of that raw power. The RTX 5080 and the 32GB of DDR5 5600 memory produce a lot of heat, but ASUS's ROG intelligent cooling system steps in with a dual-fan, vapor chamber design. In a 45-minute gaming marathon, the fans spun up to a noticeable whir, but they never crossed the line into a full-on roar. Temperatures settled in the low 80°C range on the CPU and high 70°S on the GPU, which is respectable for a chassis this thin. The trade-off is a bit of acoustic noise when you push the GPU hard, so if you're playing with the volume low or in a quiet office, you'll notice the fans. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to be aware of if you value a silent environment. Battery life is another reality check. With a 99 Wh battery, you might expect a full day of use, but gaming laptops are notorious for draining quickly. In my runs, streaming a 1080p video while browsing and keeping the RTX 5080 active gave me about 3 to 4 hours before I needed to plug in. That's fine for a dedicated gaming session, but if you're looking for a laptop that can last a full workday on the go without tethering, you might want a device with a more modest GPU. The presence of Wi-Fi 7 does improve network latency for online multiplayer and cloud streaming, but it won't offset the power draw of the GPU. Weight and portability are often overlooked when people focus on specs. The Strix G16 sits at roughly 2.8 kilograms, about 6.2 pounds. It's definitely heftier than a 13-inch Ultrabook, but you can still slip it into a padded backpack and carry it to a coffee shop or a LAN party without too much hassle. The chassis feels solid, and the full surround RGB light bar adds a personal touch. You can sync it with in-game events or keep it subtle with a single color. It's more of an aesthetic bonus than a functional one, but for gamers who like a bit of flair, it's a nice extra. So, who should actually consider buying the Strix G16? If you're a serious gamer who wants a laptop that can run modern AAA titles at high settings without dropping below 60 frames per second, and you also need a capable screen for content creation, this machine checks those boxes. The high refresh rate and low response time give you an edge in fast-paced shooters, while the ample RAM and fast SSD ensure quick load times and smooth multitasking. It also makes sense for streamers who want to game and encode on the same device, the RTX 5080 handles NVENC encoding without chewing up all the CPU cycles. On the other hand, if you're a casual player who mainly sticks to indie titles, or you're a student who needs a lightweight laptop for note-taking and occasional gaming, the Strix G16 is likely overkill. The price reflects the premium components, and you'd be paying for horsepower you'll rarely tap.